What if I told you that your exact likelihood of dying in the next decade is currently being predicted by a number you probably do not even know? Think about it. When you go to the doctor, what do they measure? They measure your blood pressure, they measure your cholesterol, they check your blood sugar. But, according to the leading experts in modern longevity, none of those are the most powerful metric for human survival. The single greatest predictor of your lifespan is a metric called VO2 Max. If you are not a professional endurance athlete, you probably think VO2 Max has nothing to do with you. You think it is just a score for marathon runners or Olympic cyclists. But here is the contradiction that is about to change how you look at exercise forever. VO2 Max is not a performance metric, it is a biological engine capacity. After the age of 30, your VO2 max progressively drops by roughly 10% every single decade. By the time you are 70, if you have not actively fought against this decline, your cardiovascular engine will literally become too weak to walk up a flight of stairs, carry your groceries, or recover from a simple fall. When VO2 max drops below the needs of your baseline metabolism, your circulatory and respiratory systems begin a vicious cycle of decay. But what if you could reverse it? We wanted to prove that you do not need to train like an Olympian for years to rebuild the most important metric of your life. So we launched an experiment. We took 50 normal people, office workers, chronic sitters, and casual gym goers, and we put them through a brutal, highly specific cardiovascular protocol for 30 days. No slow jogging, no casual elliptical sessions, from the severe lactic acid sickness on day 3, to the shocking cellular adaptation on day 14, to the literal rewiring of their mitochondria on day 30. This is the biological timeline of what happens when you force your heart to its absolute limit. Take a deep breath, because you are about to realize your lungs have been asleep for years. Before we look at the 30-day diaries, we have to look under the skin. What exactly is VO2 max, and why does it dictate how long you live? Visual stickman with photorealistic face, red tie, a glowing engine drawn inside his chest. In simple terms, VO2 max is the maximum volume of oxygen your body can effectively take in, transport through the blood, and utilize inside your cells during intense exercise. When you breathe, oxygen goes into your lungs, enters your blood, and is carried to your cells, where your mitochondria use it to produce ATP, the body's ultimate energy currency. A high VO2 max means your metabolic engine has massive horsepower. A low VO2 max means you're driving a dying car. The data on this is staggering. Simply moving your VO2 max from the bottom 25th percentile of the population to just the below average category, the 25th to 50th percentile, is associated with a massive 50% reduction in all-cause mortality. Let that sink in. A 50% drop in your risk of dying just by being slightly less out of shape. But here's the problem. Most people think they can improve this by doing cardio. They go on a 30-minute light jog. They walk on a treadmill while watching a podcast. That does not work. To increase your maximum capacity, you have to actually touch your maximum capacity. So we issued our 50 subjects the exact protocol recommended by longevity physician Dr. Peter Attia. It is called the 4x4 protocol. 4 minutes of the highest intensity, sustained exercise you can possibly endure, followed by 4 minutes of slow, active recovery. You repeat this 4 to 6 times. When done correctly, this protocol hurts. It implies working as hard as biologically possible. Let's meet our subjects. We have the lifter. He is 28. He has a massive chest and arms, but he gets winded tying his shoes. We have the desk worker. She is 35. She walks 10,000 steps a day and thinks she is in great shape. And we have the skeptic. He is 50, and his doctor recently warned him about his declining heart health. Let's see what happened on day 1. Day 1 was a complete biological failure for almost everyone. We put the subjects on stationary bikes and rowing machines. The instruction was simple. Go as hard as you can for 4 minutes. The lifter thought this would be easy. He started pedaling at maximum wattage. At minute 1, he was fine. At minute 2, his face turned pale. By minute 3, he physically could not push the pedals anymore. He stopped completely. He wrote in his log, "I bench pressed 250 pounds. I just got destroyed by 3 minutes on a stationary bike. I felt like I was breathing through a straw." Why did he fail? Here is the neurological and metabolic reveal. When you exercise at maximum exertion, your mitochondria cannot process oxygen fast enough. Your cells panic. They switch from utilizing oxygen to a backup survival system called anaerobic glycolysis. Instead of using slow-twitch muscle fibers, your body is forced to recruit fast-twitch muscle fibers just to keep moving. And the byproduct of this emergency system is a massive accumulation of lactic acid and hydrogen ions in the blood. The lifter wasn't out of breath because his lungs were small. He was out of breath because his blood had literally become acidic, and his brain was forcing him to hyperventilate to clear the carbon dioxide. Out of 50 people, 42 of them failed to complete the 4x4 protocol on day 1. They paced it wrong. They went too hard early, hit the anaerobic wall, and collapsed. We had to teach them the hardest lesson of longevity training. You cannot ego lift your cardiovascular system. By day 3, the subjects had learned how to pace themselves just enough to survive the full 4 minutes. But survival came with a biological cost. The desk worker completed her first full 4x4 session. Afterwards, she lay on the floor for 20 minutes. She wrote, "I feel nauseous. I have a metallic taste in my mouth. My legs feel like they are filled with wet cement. I thought walking 10k steps meant I was fit. I was completely delusional." Why the metallic taste? Why the severe nausea? Because she was experiencing systemic oxygen debt. For years her heart had never needed to beat faster than 110 beats per minute. By pushing her heart rate into zone 5 over 170 beats per minute, she was asking her cardiovascular system to do a job it had forgotten how to do. Her capillaries, the tiny blood vessels that deliver oxygen to the muscle tissue, were underdeveloped. The nausea was her central nervous system diverting blood away from her stomach and into her screaming leg muscles just to keep her conscious. This is the phase where people quit. Out of our 50 subjects, 6 dropped out between day 3 and day 5. They said it was simply too painful to voluntarily put themselves through that level of suffering. But, for the 44 who stayed, something magical was about to happen in the dark. We checked their sleep data. The skeptic wrote, "I am sleeping like a dead man. The physical exhaustion is so deep, my insomnia is just gone." This wasn't a coincidence. During deep sleep, the body releases growth hormone to repair tissue damage. Because they had pushed their bodies to the absolute metabolic brink, their brains were forcing them into the deepest stages of recovery. The engine was finally in the shop. 2 weeks in, the halfway mark. This was the day the data started to shift. The lifter got on the stationary bike for his day 14 session. He did his first 4-minute interval. But during the 4-minute active recovery, he noticed something strange. He wrote, "Normally, my heart rate stays pegged at 160 during the rest period. I can never catch my breath. Today, within 2 minutes of resting, my heart rate plummeted back down to 110. I felt ready to go again." What just happened? He had just experienced heart rate recovery, HRR. Heart rate recovery is how fast your heart rate drops after intense exercise, and it is a massive predictor of sudden cardiac death. If your heart rate stays high long after you stop moving, your autonomic nervous system is dysfunctional. But the lifter was adapting. His body was physically building new mitochondria inside his muscle cells. He was increasing his capillary density. His blood was clearing the lactic acid faster than it ever had in his life. He wasn't just getting fitter, his cells were literally upgrading their ability to utilize oxygen. He was building a bigger engine. Week 3. And here is where we encountered the great paradox of VO2 Max training. The desk worker was improving her 4x4 intervals, but she noticed a bizarre side effect in her normal daily life. She wrote, "I went for my usual 3-mile walk today. Normally I'm slightly sweaty by the end. Today, my heart rate barely cracked 90. It felt completely effortless. I felt like I was floating." This is the secret of the cardiovascular pyramid. VO2 max is the ceiling of your fitness. If you have a low ceiling, Every activity in your life, walking up a hill, carrying a heavy box, running to catch a train, feels difficult because it requires a huge percentage of your maximum capacity. But by doing the brutal 4x4 protocol, the desk worker had drastically raised her ceiling. Because her absolute maximum was now much higher, her daily activities now only required a tiny fraction of her effort. She was experiencing the reality of a widened aerobic base. Her body was now utilizing oxygen so efficiently that normal life no longer felt like a workout. She wasn't just extending her lifespan, she was transforming her health span, the quality of her daily physical existence. Day 30. The final assessment. We brought the remaining 44 subjects back into the lab. We strapped the oxygen masks to their faces. We put them on the treadmill and pushed them to absolute exhaustion. Did the 4x4 protocol work? The results were undeniable. Across 44 subjects, the average VO2 max score increased by 4.2 milliliters per minute per kilogram. To put that in perspective, after the age of 30, your VO2 max naturally decreases by about 10% per decade. By increasing their score by 4 points in just 30 days, our subjects effectively reversed over a decade of cardiovascular aging. The skeptic moved his score from the low category into the average category. According to the clinical data, he just reduced his risk of all-cause mortality by almost half. The lifter realized that having big muscles meant nothing if the engine powering them was dying. But before you go sprint until you vomit, listen to me carefully. This protocol is a weapon, and weapons must be respected. You do not do the 4x4 protocol every day. That is a recipe for extreme overtraining and injury. You do it 1, maybe 2 times a week, combined with slow, easy zone 2 cardio for the rest of the week. You have to build the base of the pyramid before you raise the peak. But you must raise the peak. Your comfort zone is slowly suffocating your cells. Your body is designed to adapt to extreme stress, but you have engineered a life that requires zero effort. If this video made you realize that your cardiovascular engine is stalling, hit subscribe. We are exposing the biological traps you live in every single day. And speaking of traps, next week we are looking at something sitting in your kitchen cabinet right now. The microplastics detox. Did you know that the average human consumes a credit card's worth of plastic every single week? We tracked 50 people who followed a radical protocol to flush microplastics from their blood. The effect on their testosterone and brain fog will disturb you. See you then.